Sometimes language learning feels really slow. And honestly, if I only looked at huge milestones, I would probably think I'm making no progress at all. I'm not suddenly fluent, I'm not understanding everything, and I'm definitely not mastering a language overnight. But over time, I started noticing smaller signs that tell me, okay, something is actually improving. And those small signs are often much easier to miss than the big milestones. One thing that helped me notice progress more often was changing what I focus on. In the past, I mostly looked at everything I didn't understand. The words I didn't know, the grammar I hadn't learned yet, the things I couldn't say. But when you focus on those things, it can feel like you're not making much progress at all, because there is always more to learn. But over time, I started paying more attention to the things I do understand. The words I recognize, the sentences that make sense, the moments where something feels a little easier than before. And surprisingly, that makes progress much easier to notice. So, here are a few of the small signs that tell me I'm improving in a language. The first sign is understanding more through context. Especially in Spanish, there are still plenty of words that I don't know. But more and more often, I can understand the general meaning of the text or the meaning of a text completely. I don't need to know every single word to understand what is happening. And that feels very different from when I started. A few years ago, I would probably have focused on all the words I didn't understand. Now, I notice more often what I do understand. And that shift alone makes progress much easier to see. The second sign is that reading feels more natural. Not necessarily easy, just more natural. I still encounter unknown words all the time, but reading itself feels less exhausting than before. I spend less energy trying to decode every sentence, and because of that, I can spend more time with the language. It's not one big breakthrough, it's a lot of tiny improvements adding up over time. With Japanese, one of the biggest signs of progress is recognition. Sometimes I recognize words that I didn't recognize a few months ago. Sometimes I can read parts of a sentence that previously looked completely unfamiliar. And even when I don't understand everything, the language feels less intimidating than before. The writing system still challenges me, but it doesn't feel as overwhelming as it once did. And for me, that's definitely a form of progress. Another small sign is when I start using words without really thinking about it. Sometimes a word simply comes to mind naturally. Sometimes I notice that I already know the meaning of a word without consciously trying to remember it. And sometimes I use a word from one of my languages in everyday situations and only afterwards realize that I didn't have to think about it first. These moments are usually very small, but I think they are a good sign that the language is slowly becoming more familiar. And maybe the hardest sign to measure, feeling less lost. Especially in the beginning, everything feels unfamiliar. Every text, every video, every conversation, every new resource. But over time, languages start feeling more familiar. Not necessarily easy, just less overwhelming. And for me, that's often one of the clearest signs of progress. Because even when I still have a lot to learn, I feel more comfortable interacting with the language. I think one thing that helps me was changing what I count as progress. And maybe even more importantly, changing what I pay attention to. Because if I only focus on everything I don't understand yet, there will always be an endless list of things left to learn. But if I also pay attention to the things I do understand now that I didn't understand before, progress becomes much easier to see. Understanding a little more, recognizing a few more words, using a word without realizing it, feeling a little less lost than before. Those moments may seem small, but for me, they are often the clearest sign that I'm actually improving. So now I'm curious. What's a small sign that tells you you're improving in a language? Maybe something that other people wouldn't even notice. Let me know in the comments.